Hello, from a very frosty UK. Not quite a winter wonderland, but it's getting there. This video is about the right way to stand when you want to sing acoustically. It isn't going to be for singers that want to sing and play an instrument at the same time. It's just for singers that want to stand and sing. That means without a microphone, by the way, so you will have to do some work. If this is something that will interest you, continue to watch the video. There's a few things to think about when you're standing to sing. So we're going to go from bottom to top and start with what your feet do first. You want your feet to be stood hip width apart, not outwards, not inwards, straight ahead. Point them straight ahead. The reason why it's important is because your feet are attached to your hips, and if you flex your feet out, you flex your pelvis, which has implications on how your muscles will move or not move later on, and the same goes for that way too. So your best option is just to learn to stand with your feet forward. The next thing you want to be thinking about is standing tall. One of my singing teachers said to me, imagine that there is a string and it's going right through your back, through your neck, and it escapes from the top of your head. Now you want to look forwards, not upwards, not downwards, just forwards, perhaps your chin slightly lowered. It's the back of your head, your crown, that you want to imagine that this string is coming through. It's lifting you, you're light. Feel that lift floating upwards. Imagine it, feel it. What this does is align all of your torso muscle groups and your back to make your diaphragm have the maximum amount of movement, because you're going to need it when you start to sing correctly. The next thing we need to be thinking about is what we're doing with our pelvis. We stood with our feet pointing forwards, hip width apart, and what this does is align our pelvis horizontally, and this is a good thing. But what do we do with our bum? Well, you do not want to be sticking it out, you want to tuck it in. Why don't we give it a try together? Stand up. Stand with your feet in the correct position, hip width apart, feet pointing forwards, but stick your bum out. Bend over, shake that tail feather. What you should experience when you breathe in is a limiting sensation. Now the reason this happens is because the muscles that are at the bottom of your pelvis, in your pelvis, they're pulling in a downward direction, and that's what creates this limiting sensation that we feel. So if you shake that out, stand again, feet hip width apart, feet forward, breathe, tilt your pelvis forward this time, and breathe in again. And what you'll experience is that limitation simply goes away. And that's why we do it, to make the process of singing those tricky phrases much easier on our body. Now, the last thing we need to think about is what we're doing with our shoulders. Lots of times when you see an untrained singer go for that deep breath, that really big note, you'll see just before they let it out and release it, they'll lift their shoulders up. It seems like a perfectly natural thing to do, but you will never see a trained singer doing it this way, and there are two reasons for that. The first reason is pretty much the same as your pelvis. When you lower your shoulders and you move them slightly back, your ribs and your chest go forwards, you puff your chest out. And what that means is your rib cage can open fully as your body is going to allow it to go. This way you can get all of the air in for your diaphragm control. Now, diaphragm control is the fundamental thing about singers. The more you can control your diaphragm, the more intuitive all of your performances will become. So the way to do that is to lower your shoulders and push them slightly back. Puff your chest out. Breathe in. You should feel that this is an effortless thing to do. When you tense up your shoulders and push them up, you're simply using more muscles than you do when you keep them low and push them back. And everything about singing and voice training is about streamlining the amount of effort your body has to make in order to produce the best sound. So give it a try. Stand up, lower your shoulders, send them backwards, puff out your chest, tilt your pelvis forward. And you should be able to feel that your rib cage is moving easily, your diaphragm is moving easily, and this is how you gain the maximum amount of control over it. Now, the other reason that you don't want to lift your shoulders up when you're singing is the tension. That tension that goes into your shoulders can spread into your throat, and most of the time, it depends what kind of singer you are. We want to keep the tension out of our throats, we want it to be open. So pay close attention to what your shoulders are doing. Let's have a quick recap. In this video, we've been thinking about the right way to stand to get the most out of our voices. We've been thinking about what our feet are doing. They're hip width apart. They're pointing forwards. Gives us good balance. We've thought about what our pelvis is doing. It's tilted slightly forward because we now know that when we tilt it backwards, there's a limit to how much breath control we can get. We've thought about standing tall and standing straight, so the muscles in our torso are able to control what our ribs are doing and control what our diaphragm is doing. And lastly, we've been thinking about our shoulders. We're going to keep them down and slightly back, and part of that process is pushing your ribs forward. And we understand that when we do that, the breath can get in as fast as possible because there's going to be a time when we need to refill on a semiquaver. Now, it's a legitimate question to ask. Why do I need to learn this stance? Because I'm not going to stand on stage like a statue. No, you're not going to stand on stage like a statue. And it really does depend on what genre of singing you're going to go into. Now, a classical singer will stand in a very good stance, and normally their hands will stay by their side, and their voice becomes a part of the orchestra. I would argue, the most beautiful part of an orchestra. But when you're a musical singer or a rock and popular singer, it's not the same. You're going to be doing a dance routine, or at the very least moving around. You're not going to stand up straight. That's not the point. The point is to internalize all of the different parts of how you stand. So when you need them, in an emergency, I guess, they're there for you to get straight away. You've got a big tricky phrase coming up. Your pelvis is bent backwards because you're shaking a tail feather. You know that you're going to have to quickly realign, tip your pelvis forward, shoulders down, shoulders back, open up that rib cage, breathe in fast. And this is the reason why we learn to stand the way we do. And the way that I've told you how to stand in this video will maximize your ability to get that done. So that's it from me. I hope you found this video interesting. Maybe learned a little something. That's the whole point. Feel free to have a look around for any more lessons. And if you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like? Perhaps think about subscribing. Maybe you could post a comment down below or post a video and show me what you're getting up to. I'd be really interested. In the meantime, get singing. Have fun. Until next time, bye for now.